Good evening, my little ones, and welcome to the spooky Otaku GenX show, 'cause it's Scary Week. On today's Otaku GenXer, I, Thurgwyn, the Otaku GenXer, want to encourage you to, if you haven't yet already, subscribe, leave a like on the video, comment, and check out the contest that's going on below. You could win some cool stuff, but you are here for the scares from Netflix. So, on today's show, we're going to be grading the various anime I thought could fall into a scary category, either by Netflix's definition or my own personal definition. We're going to be ranking these in your typical S through E, so S, A, B, C, D, E. Now, be aware, of all of these anime, only one have I not watched, so I can't really rank it that high, but I did look at it and it was ranked as either a thriller or a horror or, dark according to Netflix. But let's start then with the eerie, get it, eerie category. In spot number 1, we have Gantz Zero. Gantz Zero, I believe, is a prequel to the Gantz series. I've never really watched it. It might be a game series, but I did watch Gantz Zero. The movie was somewhat enjoyable. It did have a lot of gore, showed a lot of yokai. What's a yokai? Tune in on Wednesday as we look into Japanese scary folklore. Anyway, had a lot of yokai depicted quite nicely. But it kinda dragged on, and it was like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I was kinda bored with it, not really scared by it, so that's why it's kinda just eerie. Next, we have Durara. Are you scared of the Headless Horseman? Well, Durara has a female Dullahan, that's what they're called, riding a motorbike. I have to say, a lot of people recommended this anime to me. I've only watched one episode, so I can't really judge it fairly, thus it's still eerie. Next, we have Evangelion, a classic that's boring as heck in nowadays age. It does have scary monsters, it has big mechs, it has lots of psychology and stuff like that, and Netflix redubbed it, which probably is the issue. I've only watched about half of it. Yeah, I know, I'm a Gen Xer. Evangelion's the stuff of legends. I should have watched more of it. I might get back to it sometime, when I'm not researching decent anime. Again, if you disagree with me, make your own list. Let me know how you would change it in the comments. Our final one in our eerie category is Hero Mask. I didn't get the chance to watch it yet, so I can't judge it at all, but Hero Mask appears to be a Netflix exclusive. It may actually not be an anime, it might be done in a different studio, I don't know. But that is all of our eerie anime on Netflix. Moving on to our next category. These are deadly! Deadly! Look, the pipe is possessed. It floats. Woo! Get back in the mouth, you pipe. Deadly anime. Alright, the first one on this is Vampire Knight. I've reviewed it once before. It's, love triangle, vampires, scary, vampires, yeah. It's deadly. It almost made it into Eerie, But I was being nice. The next one is Cotton Party of the Iron Fortress. This one is ranked deadly, even though it appears to be very scary, because it is a sequel, and you have to watch the original, which deals with modern-day trains and zombies and fun things like that, and the original series was very good. I would mark the original series much higher, but since this is a sequel, and you have to go somewhere else to watch the original, it only gets a deadly. Next, you have the accursed Ajin. What happens when people, if they are killed, they don't die, they become immortal, and they get this scary shadow behind them, and you have terrible CG animation. You have Ajin. Now, there were some very scary parts to this, and some very deep psychological horror parts to this, like, well, if you've got somebody that doesn't die, you can just infinitely experiment on him for products for the public, right? Talk about ethics, or none. Ha ha! Next, we have B Before the Beginning. This one had lots of action, a confusing story, angels, demons. It was alright. That's why it got deadly, because while I watched it back when it originally came out on Netflix, I don't really remember much about it, so it didn't have that much of an impression on me. Last, this one will probably piss some people off on where it's scored, but Blue Exorcist. Blue Exorcist has some scary stuff in it, dealing with the sons of the devil and all that, but it has a school life and much comedy, and it's almost too lighthearted, but it is a horror of some sort because it does deal with demons and all of that stuff. Now, are you ready for things to get creepy? If you're ready for things to get creepy, we got our C-rank ones. These are the middle of the road. They're not too bad, they're not too good. They're just. Starting off in our creepy area is God Eater. God Eater is an incredible fun PlayStation game that you can play that they made an anime from. It is all CG graphics. The monsters are kind of terrifying. The premise is kind of interesting. There's some creepy factor to it. That's why it's creepy. After God Eater, we awfully got to have Godzilla, King of the Monsters! The remake of Godzilla is a nice CG fest on Netflix. You know, thank you, Netflix, for remaking Godzilla as a nice CG monster flick. But it's too sci-fi and whatnot, so it kind of makes it creepy overall. But overall, yeah, creepy. Next, we have Agamika Kill. This one has got some great waifus that all die. That's what's making it creepy. No, it's got the word kill in it. Lot of death and gore and whacked out psychology and things like that. The anime did not follow the manga at the end, and thus kind of disappointed many people. But, you know, Agamika Kill. It's creepy. Alright. We're down to 2 more in row C that are creepy. We have Sirius the Jaguar. I love how the Japanese like to take German and throw it into their titles. You know, Sirius the Jaguar. This follows a werewolf type man that's part of the squad that hunts vampires. You know, typical vampire Van Helsing hunting fair stuff. It's alright, it was creepy. Ha ha ha. Last, and the only reason this one gets C for creepy is because I don't know if you can consider it an anime. And that is Castlevania, which also starts with C. Castlevania, based upon the loved retro game of PlayStation's past, Castlevania of the same name, follows various story arcs through the various seasons from the games. It is actually quite an enjoyable creepy fest. I enjoyed it, but again, since it's hard to say if this is a anime or not, though Netflix categorizes it as an anime, I haven't looked into where it was produced. If you think it's an anime, let me know in the comments. So, there we have it. Our lower tier of C, D, and E. But where do we go from here? We go into the blood-curdling anime. These are getting more and more intense, better and better as we go forth. The first one in our blood-curdling I've talked about before, Death Note. Now, Death Note, while it is creepy and very psychological, it is blood-curdling to think that a man could go so far to murder for the sake of justice. Following that, we have Sword Guy. Now, I have to admit, Sword Guy, I just finished episode 5 today. Episode 5 was really, really good, I have to say. The premise is that as a weapon kills, it absorbs the hatred of man, and the weapon gains a soul of itself, and then can eventually bond with a man that has a strong enough soul, and become this monstrous creature. And this follows these gory weapons into modern day Japan. It's been a trip so far. Had my blood curling. Next we have Attack on Titan. The reason this one's getting thrown in there, this one is very much a political war one when you look at seasons 2, 3, 4. But the first season, oh my goodness, is gory as all get out as the Titans rip out the head and bite it off. After Attack on Titan, our last one in our blood-curdling area is... Here's the placard. Something about Megla Monster whatever. Basically, this guy tours this weird island where monsters are, and he saves people from it, and it's interesting. It's got some interesting, scary backstory things mixed in with it and all that, so it was blood-curdling. I enjoyed what I watched all up the episodes of it. So that gives us all our blood-curdling. Now, in our alarming category, we have Devilman Crybaby. Devilman Crybaby is based on the franchise of Devilman. I've watched Devilwoman on Amazon. Never had the chance to watch the original Devilman. But Devilman Crybaby uses some of the same premise. I'm only about halfway through it, but it's been so good. It has been alarming. Now, one of the things I do have to warn is this is one you do... Most of these you don't watch with children around, but this is definitely one don't watch with children around. There's lots of graphic nudity and sex. This one's all borderline hentai. Anyway, Devilman Crybaby. If you really wanna get your heart pumping. Alright, this one is going to be a very interesting one to consider. Because you'll say, but it's not scary at all. And that is Kakaguri. This one's about a school people go to gamble. But it's got some thrill-seeking gambles in it that make your heart go doki doki and make you concerned And the main character, she's nuts. She's just psychotically nuts. That's all I can say. Alright, we have one more in this category of alarming. Some may disagree with me of throwing this in as a horror, but I don't care. I'm talking... Oh, and some might disagree that it's only a level A, it should be level S. What one are we talking about? We're talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, alright? The first season deals... Well, actually, I think it's the first 2 seasons, deals with vampires. Yeah. So scary. It is really good. You gotta get through that, and then you can get to the real fun. But that then doesn't really make it much of a horror genre. It's more of a action-adventure. But the first 2 seasons is definitely in that horror genre of dealing with the spooky things in the night of blood-sucking vampires. Well, that leaves us with those 2 that I found to be scary. The first one in our list, I power marathoned this weekend. The Promised Neverland. Talk about a scary, psychological thriller with lots of turns and twists as these kids are being raised by a seemingly loving mother only to be turned over to these diabolical demons for food. And how the oldest kids figure this out and try to escape with all their younger orphans. It is a thrill ride, and I cannot wait for season 2 of this anime. Well, where does that leave us? I talked about quite a few anime. We've got one more. This one I consider to be the pinnacle of horror, be it on Netflix or not. Parasite, the Maxim. My goodness, this one is so bloody scary. What happens when, through no fault of his own, these parasites fall from heaven and then infest humans and creatures, eating and taking over their brains and their heads, to where they go around eating and eating and eating some more. Come our protag, he realizes something landed on his arm, was crawling up his arm, and ties it off with his iPhone headphones. Yeah, good use for iPhone headphones. Prevent a parasite from reaching your brain. Well, since the parasite thought that it needed to survive, it infected his arm and hand, and thus his lower part of his arm and hand is the parasite Muyi. Muyi learns from the internet and all sorts of things, and they form this dichotomy partnership where they have to hunt down the other parasites. This anime's gory. This anime's got you jumping. This anime's freaky awesome. This anime is scary good. So there you have it. What anime have you watched? What anime do you plan to watch? Let me know down in the comments. Again, if you've enjoyed this content, please subscribe. Ring that notification bell. Throw a like. Share it with your friends. Throw a comment down below. Let me know. In addition, look forward to a special Halloween episode of Say What this Wednesday, where I cover Japanese folklore of the scary type, recounting in dramatic format some of the most scary myths and legends from the Japanese culture, as well as explaining how their scary culture differs from our Western scary culture, because that's what I do on Say What. Lastly, remember there's a contest, check it out below. You may win some cool stuff. I'm going to be extending this contest all for the month of November. As a reminder, I'm Theraguin, the Otaku GenXer. This has been the Otaku GenX Show. Remember, everyone, you need to be yourself in virtual reality, and especially be yourself in real life.